There is something about reading romance books when you look like a hot mess that is just frankly unparalleled. And truly all I want to do today is I just want to sit down, I want to read, and I just want to read romances. There is something about reading a romance in summer, or frankly any time of year, to be completely honest, but in summer it just gives like so many like holiday vibes, and I really love it, and I really need a holiday. So because I can't go out and take a holiday because life, I will settle for reading it in a book, and I will live vicariously through these characters, let's be honest. So here are some of the books that are on my sort of like loose TBR for summer. I say loose TBR because, as we've established, I am a mood reader, and therefore I have serious issues sticking to a TBR, as we have seen multiple times before. I'm just not very good at it. I am really excited to read these books for all kinds of various reasons. So a couple of these are just like straight romances. Two of them are like romanticies, and then we've got a few different bits and pieces in here. So let's start with contemporary. We've got The American Roommate Experiment by Elena Armas. I have tripped over the title of this book, I can't even tell you how many times, but I read The Spanish Love Deception and I loved it. I laughed, I cried, I live, breathe and die for it. I rated it 5 stars. I loved it. I will link the vlog where I read that in the description down below and in the cards. But basically this book I'm so excited for. So we follow Rosie, who is Catalina's best friend, and we also follow Lucas, who is Catalina's cousin. So it's kind of like all interconnected. I love these covers that we've got, where we've got like an idea as to who the characters are, like what they look like, etc, etc. But I kind of like the fact that we don't really have any faces on it. It's kind of a vibe. I live for it. I love the fact that there's like a little like music, I don't even know what they're called. The little old like gramophones, that's it. I'm living, breathing, dying. I really wonder where that's going to come into it. I'm very excited to read this. It's like very much like close proximity, like best friends, relative or whatever. So I think this is going to be a really interesting read. But let's get into the blurb. Sometimes love just needs a little inspiration. Rosie Graham has a problem, a few actually. First, she quit her well-paid job to focus on her secret career as a romance writer, only to enter a creative slump. Then the ceiling of her New York apartment falls in. To make matters worse, when she heads to her best friend's apartment, she finds that Lena has already lent the studio to her cousin Lucas, who Rosie has been, for lack of a better word, stalking on Instagram. When Lucas suggests that they share the small space, Rosie discovers that he strolls around the place in a towel, has a distracting grin, an irresistible accent, and cooks meals that are just as tempting. Then he learns about Rosie's writer's block and poses an outrageous idea. He'll take her on a series of experimental dates to reignite her literary muse. This shouldn't be a problem because Lucas's stay in New York also has a deadline, but she might find it hard to write now the research is so much more fun. Like I said, like it's very like forced proximity, like best friends, relative, but also I kind of wonder if there's like a little bit of like fake dating, which we got in The Spanish Love Deception and I really love. And I feel like I'm on like a little bit of like, oh, I want more fake dating. So like I feel like this is going to go down really well. I'm really excited to read this. I really liked the way that Spanish Love Deception was written, so I have super high hopes for this. So another contemporary is X's and O's by Amy Lee. I read the first one, which was Set on You earlier this year. Again, this was like my first one from her. This is the second one in the series as well. And I know I've spoken about this before, but I bought these two, which are the second in their series, first, and then I had to go back and buy the first one because I don't know how to count apparently, but it's fine. We read the first ones, we love the first ones, and I'm super excited for the second one. So in this one we follow Tara, who is the little sister of Crystal, who we met in book 1. She's also like a social media girly, but she is a bookstagrammer, and I'm really excited for that because I feel like it's gonna just have so many vibes that is just gonna be like living, breathing, dying. Again, I kind of love this like cartoony cover. It's a bit of a vibe. I feel like with these two being like such vibrant, bright colors, it's like very summery. I'm living, breathing, dying for it. It's just like so, it just gives all the summer vibes. Like I feel like I need to like cut up some like lemons and limes and stick them in my water and I've just decided I'm gonna do that after I finish filming this video, but that's entirely beside the point. So we've got like a little bit of like forced proximity. We've got like she's trying to like rebuild her previous relationships. I feel like this could be like a really interesting dynamic. I don't quite know how that's gonna work. Second chance romances are kind of a bit iffy for me. They're sort of hit and miss, because sometimes I sit there and I go, ew, why are you like going after something that like you've been there, you've done that, it didn't work, like get over it, move on. But sometimes I think they're cute. So I feel like maybe this will be good. I'm really hopeful that it's good. I'm a little bit nervous that it might not quite hit the mark for me. But I am still really excited to read it, because obviously we've got Tara, who I said is the little sister, and we've also got Trevor Metcalf, who is the ex-roommate of Crystal's now boyfriend. So again, it's very like interconnected. So I feel like this is going to be a really, really good one as well. Tara Chen has her heart broken 10 times by 10 different men. Nevertheless, she is still determined to find her perfect match. The only problem, Tara is a romance novel obsessive and her standards are sky high. Modern dating apps have killed the meet cute, so Tara decides to revisit her exes in the hope of finding her very own trope-worthy second chance romance. And every heroine needs a sidekick, so she enlists her new flatmate, firefighter Trevor. Trevor Metcalf is the first to rush into a burning building, but the last to rush into a relationship. Love just isn't his thing, but the more time they spend together, the more Trevor appreciates Tara's authentic, dramatic self. I feel like these two are like very much along similar vibes, like it's the forced proximity, they're like dating the roommate, and I feel like that's gonna like really make them so great to just like read together. I'm probably gonna end up reading them back to back. Either that or like I'll read them like so beyond separate, they're like polar opposites, but I will probably end up reading these back to back. So I feel like these two are gonna be two amazing books and I can't wait to read them. But now we're moving into the romantic kind of side of things. So we've got Payback's a Witch by Lana Harper. Now this was one that I really didn't know anything about before I picked it up. I picked it up because this cover is gorgeous. It is all the vibes. It's pink, it's purple, it's dark, it's spooky. You know, it's very like witchy. There's like little crystals and there's like a moon, and I'm like, this is giving all the witch vibes that I am just like living for at the moment. Turns out it's actually a rom-com. So romantic comedy is not something that I'm like particularly well versed in, so I kind of don't really know sort of like what I'm getting into. I feel like in some of the romance books that I've read, they've had like a little comedy element where there's been like a little bit of funny, you know, I've like giggled a little bit, but I've never read like a categoric rom-com. So I'm quite excited for this. I feel like I'm either gonna love it or hate it. I don't know which way. I hope it's love it, because this is a really gorgeous book. It's nice and small. It's like, what? Oh, 2. Do we get a little bit of another book? Ooh. So this is the first of a series. That is so exciting. But overall, it is 313 pages, so it's not a huge book. I feel like this is going to be like a really cozy read, just like curling up on the sofa, do it in one day. I'm really excited. I feel like it's going to be a lot of vibes. Like I said, I really knew nothing about this when I picked it up. A sexy, funny, charming romp that scratches that witchy autumnal itch just right. So I know it says autumnal and I'm going to be reading this in summer, but it's probably going to end up being like late summer, knowing me. And then obviously at the bottom we've got Is Revenge the Sweetest Magic of All, which absolutely, yes, it's just like feeding vibes straight away. So let's check out the blurb. Emmy Harlow is a witch, but not a very powerful one. In part because she hasn't been home to the magical town of Thistle Grove in years. Her self-imposed exile has a lot to do with a complicated family history and a desire to forge her own way in the world, and only the very tiniest bit to do with Gareth Blackmore, heir to the most powerful magical family in town, casual breaker of hearts and destroyer of dreams. But when a spellcasting tournament that her family serves as arbiters for approaches, the pull of tradition, or the truly impressive parental guilt trip that comes with it, is strong enough to bring Emmy back. She's determined to do her familial duty, spend some quality time with her best friend Lyndon Thorne, and get back to her real life in Chicago. On her first night home, Emmy runs into Talia Avramov, an all-around badass adept in the darker magical arts, who is fresh off a bad breakup with Gareth Blackmore. Talia had let herself be charmed, only to discover that Gareth was also seeing Lyndon, and now she and Lyndon want revenge. Only one question remains. Is Emily in? I'm like full vibes for this right now. This sounds hilarious. It sounds amazing. I kind of love the fact that it's like kind of more about like her friends and these other people that she knows and like getting revenge, and I feel like there's gonna be like a little bit of there's gonna be a little bit of like a romance thrown in there, but I feel like this is going to be a really enjoyable read. I just have good, this just gives me good vibes. I'm so excited, and I know it's not autumnal, however I just really want to read it, and it's summer, and it's probably going to be end of summer, like I said, that I end up reading it, so it's going to be late summer, early autumn vibes. Next up, we have Queen of Myth and Monsters by Scarlett St. Clair. Now, this is book 2 again in the series. So I read book 1, which was King of Battle and Blood, and I really, really enjoyed it. I did think it was a pretty good book. I know there's a lot of people that had a lot of issues with it, but all in all, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed it. The vampire aspect was kind of like there sometimes and like not at other times. It was like kind of, oh yeah, like let me just like dribble this back in kind of thing, but it wasn't like it was their like sole identity, which I did really quite enjoy. Like I said, I enjoyed it. I have pretty good vibes going into this. I feel like this is going to be good. However, I know there's a lot of people that don't like book 2 of this. However, I just, yeah, I don't know. I have a good feeling about it. Isolde, newly coronated queen, has finally found a king worthy of her in the vampire Adrian. But their love for each other has cost Isolde her father and her homeland. With 2 opposing goddesses playing mortals and vampires against one another, Isolde is uncertain who her allies are in the vampire stronghold of Recon. Now, as politics in the Red Palace grow more underhanded, inexplicable monster attacks plague the villagers, and a deadly crimson mist threatens all of Cordovia, Isolde must trust in the bond she's formed with Adrian, even as she learns troubling information about his complicated past. I feel like this is giving very much from Blood and Ash kind of vibes, and I feel like that's probably mostly because of the vampire side of it, but again, because the whole like, oh, she's finding out stuff about his complicated past, and like, oh, all these like deadly creatures, and like she's had to like give up so much from like how she grew up, and I feel like it's quite sort of similar in that respect. And I did quite enjoy from Blood and Ash 1 and 2. 3 was a little bit of a letdown, but that's not really the point of this video. So I do hope that this does better than book 3 in that. But I feel like this could be a good time, and as much as I said, like, I do have really good vibes going into this, but I feel like out of all of them, this is going to be, like, the mindless read. This is going to be the one where, like, I'm kind of tired, I'm kind of not really paying attention, and I just, like, want to read. Another one by Scarlett St. Clair is A Game of Retribution. This, I think, is book 2 in Hades' saga. So we've got, like, the 2, we've got Hades and Persephone, and they kind of run parallel, but they've not been written parallel, so it's a little bit confusing. I don't really know where I am with all of it. This is actually my friend's copy. She's been like begging me to read this for ages. I've read all of the rest of them that are out as of this moment. I can't really remember which ones are which. I think I've read all of the rest of them. And like I said, I think this is book 2 in Hades set. So we kind of already know the story-ish, but then we're just kind of getting it from his point of view. We've seen Persephone's point of view, we're now getting his point of view. So there's like a few little bits where like he kind of goes away and does his own thing, and then you kind of like get to read about that and get like a little bit more in depth. I have really enjoyed the other ones that I've read in this series, so I feel like this is going to be good. It's kind of one of those ones where I feel like I'm dragging my feet a little bit because I'm like, well, I kind of already know the story, like I want something new, but I know I really need to read it because my friend is really excited to talk about it, and I'm really excited to talk about it with her too, but I just keep dragging my feet with reading this. It is a beautifully floppy paperback, which we do love. But Hades, god of the dead, does not take sides or bend the rules. He makes no exceptions to these values, not for god or mortal, even his lover Persephone, goddess of spring. Usually fear prevents retaliation, but not this time. When Hera, goddess of women, approaches Hades with a plan to overthrow Zeus, he declines to offer help. As punishment, Hera sentences Hades to perform a series of labours. Between killing mythical monsters and recovering deadly stolen artifacts, each feat seems more impossible than the last and draws his attention away from Persephone, whose own tragedy has left her questioning whether she can be queen of the underworld. Can Hades maintain the balance he craves? One of my neighbours has just started mowing their lawn. If you can hear that, I am so sorry. I can't do anything about it. It's too hot to shut the doors. But I feel like this is gonna like really differ from the story that we get from Persephone's point of view, so I feel like I really should just like kind of get on and read it. But again, I'm kind of dragging my feet a little bit with it, but I do have pretty good hopes for this. My friend absolutely adored it. There's a lot of people that do really like this. I don't know, I feel like this is the one I'm like least excited to read, but I know I'm still gonna read it, and I know I'm gonna love it once I get started. It's just the getting started. It's a little bit like, you know, task paralysis type thing. But I do have good hopes for this. I do like the way that Scarlett St. Clair writes. I do love the characters of Hades and Persephone, the way that she writes them and the world that she's put them in, and all of the world building and the world lore that goes along with that. I think it's really intricate and detailed. So I will get to it. I will get to it. It will probably be a little bit later on. It's not going to be a straight away. So the one that I'm quite possibly the most excited for is Psyche and Eros by Lana McNamara. And this was one, when I heard that this was coming out, I was like, oh my gosh, where do I sign up for this? I could not possibly wait for it to come out in paperback, which tells you how excited I am about it, because I really don't like hardbacks. They're really annoying. I really don't care for them. But, so we've got these like really nice little end papers, and then most of it's just plain black, which is kind of boring, but it's okay. I'm just entranced by this cover. It's like giving me so many vibes, like with this like little like Greek motif here. I'm really, really excited about this. I think it's gonna be a really, really good one. Again, I kind of don't really know too much about it, and I kind of very loosely know the story of Psyche and Eros, but in all honesty, like nowhere near as much as I know like other Greek stories, which in my head is kind of like, well, why are you so excited about it then, rather than like other Greek stories? And I'm like, yeah, but it's a really, really good one. The god of love has finally met his match. Born into an era of heroes, a prophecy claims that Psyche, princess of Mycenae, will defeat a monster feared even by the gods themselves. Rebelling against society's traditions, she spends her youth mastering blade and bow, preparing to fulfill her destiny. But she is soon caught up in powers beyond her control when the jealous Aphrodite sends the god of desire, Eros, to deliver a fatal love curse. The last thing Eros wants to do is become involved in the chaos of the mortal world, but when he's pricked by the very arrow intended for Psyche, he is doomed to love a woman who will be torn from him the moment their eyes meet. Thrown together by fate, headstrong Psyche and world-weary Eros will face challenges greater than they could ever have imagined, and as the Trojan War begins and the whole of the heavens try to keep them apart, will they find their way back to each other before it's too late? So I feel like this is gonna have like very strong like Greek tragedy vibes. I am hoping for a happy ending at the end, but like I said, I don't know much about the story of Psyche and Eros except for like the very, very basics. So I'm really excited to go into this. I have really, really been loving like Greek retellings, especially ones that are like Greek tragedies. So I have very high hopes for this. I'm super, super excited for this. Obviously, this is a really quite a new release. It only came out at the end of May, I believe. But yeah, so this is the one I am categorically most excited for, and this is the one that I am going to be starting today. I am so, so excited for it. So give me more Greek mythology, please. Anyone who's talking about Greek mythology, sign me straight up. If you guys know of any books that are Greek mythology inspired that I don't already have on my shelf, please do sound off in the comments down below, because I need more. I am so firmly back in a Greek mythology binge, and I am 100% here for it. So there you have it. Here are the romance books that I am definitely, I really will read them in this summer. I swear I will do it. I will put my mood reading aside and I will read these books this summer, but here they are. Here's everything about them. I'm really excited for these, and yeah, I just think that romance books are perfect any time of the year. Super nice and cozy in winter, super nice and spicy in summer. It's all vibes all year round, and I'm obsessed. So if you have read any of these, sound off in the comments down below. If you picked up any recommendations, sound off in the comments down below. And if there's anything that I need to get hold of, guess what? Sound off in the comments down below. While you're down there, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time. Bye.